Alright, welcome back. This is the second part of my tutorial on how to do my jungle Commando custom clones, and I've already finished painting all of my clones' armor with just my dark gray that I mixed. I like to use just little bottle caps from like soda bottles and stuff to mix up paint in. So they're pretty disposable, a little small. You can put just a little bit of paint in them. They work pretty good. So I also painted his belt because I think, you know, he's a jungle clone, so you really don't want to have too much white, so I'm going to try to cover up as much white. The next thing that I like to do, and as you can see I've gotten everywhere, even up under the ridge of his helmet here, the next thing that I like to do is I like to take a wash and put it all over the body. And for a wash, what I use is I use a little bottle here, and what it has in it is it has a solution of alcohol and paint, and it's pretty much mostly alcohol, just a little bit of paint in there. It's very, very light, but the alcohol tends to break up and soften the edges of my paint. So right now you can see my clone has these really, really well defined stripes and lines all over his body, and when I go to put this alcohol on him, it's going to dissolve a little bit of the paint on there and kind of spread it around. It's going to make all of his armor kind of have this really, really light gray, and also it takes away the effect of making the paint look fake. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it just kind of evens out the surface and makes the paint just look like it's all one layer. So this is a solution that I've been using for a while, so it's been settling, so I like to stir it up a little bit, and basically I just get a good size flat brush and I load it up and I just start brushing it on, and if my solution isn't dark enough I can just add a little bit more black paint until I get it about how I want. But I like my alcohol and paint wash to be really, really light, because I like my paint job to show up more than my wash does. So this only takes a few moments, so I'm going to go ahead and wash it. I do like to kind of scrub it a little bit, like he's getting a really dirty bath or something, because the scrubbing action gets the alcohol to work into the paint that's on the surface and kind of break it up a little bit, and it just makes it look better, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to tell you what my next layer is going to be. I try not to leave very, very thick puddles. Like back here, if you can see, he's got a pretty good puddle right here in his little crack. I like to go in there and break that up because you don't want it to be too obvious that it's a wash. I mean, I like it to look like it's a real paint job that this clone did to his armor, and not, you know, a fake ink wash. Alright, and since it's alcohol, another thing that's great about using alcohol, there's actually a couple of benefits to it. It tends to seep into all the cracks and give that look to everything like it's really, really grimy, and this clone has been wearing this armor for a long time. I like to also bend the joint right here back and get up inside there, so that if you're posing your figure later on, maybe for photographs or whatever, you don't see this giant white mark when you bend his chest back. So I like to get up in there. The other benefit to using alcohol is that it dries really quickly. Just like the Model Master's acrylic paint dries really fast so you can work faster and finish your customs faster, the alcohol is the same way. It dries really fast. And then when it's done, we can move on to our next layer. So since it dries very fast, it's easy to move your clone around and find a dry part, maybe up on the shoulder pads or something like that, and get him up there too. I like to get the bottom of the feet also, because again, if you're posing them for pictures like I like to do later on, maybe you're doing a diorama and you see these bright bottoms of the feet, well, that doesn't really make any sense because he's been trudging in the dirt in the jungle for months. Why would he have really, really bright bottoms of his boots. That wouldn't make any sense. Alright, and already he's pretty much dry. I'm going to let him sit there for 1 second while I rinse my brush out. And as you can see now, all of his armor is kind of turned this really light gray, a lot like the custom ARF trooper that I did. I did this technique on my custom ARF, and now he's ready to get some more of color on his armor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my brown, and I'm going to apply a bit of the brown pattern to him. And I like to make the different layers kind of have different patterns to them as well. Like for instance, I used the crisscross lines for the gray on him. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get another brush here, and it's a little bit, it's a thin tip brush, but it's not quite as thin as this one here that I use for detail work. You can see that one's pretty thin. And this one kind of makes nice little dots or dashes. So this clone's going to have some brown on him, and so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of the same way, but maybe just going in different directions, paint these brown marks. And I'm going to paint all over everywhere that I can. Remember, if he's a jungle clone, he's not really going to want any white to show because he's trying to hide in the jungle. So of course he would do everything that he can to camouflage that white armor that he got from, that he was issued on Commando all those months and months and months ago when he was deployed. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come back in a few minutes to show you what the finished product looks like, and we'll see you in a few minutes.